You are watching Places. Every Tuesday, we bring you an insightful look into fascinating events from all around the world. Why Uganda is the world's most entrepreneurial nation. Welcome to alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. If you're not subscribed yet, you're missing out. Hello, Aluxers, and welcome back. When you think of the top countries for entrepreneurs, which ones come to mind? China, the US, Japan, maybe the UK? What would you say if I told you none of those even made the top 10? If you clicked on this video, you already know the most entrepreneurial nation in the world is Uganda. And if you're like many people around the world, you probably were surprised to learn that. Today we're going to look at how Uganda achieved that title, what kinds of businesses Ugandans create, and why this statistic doesn't tell the whole story. But first, a little background. By the end of this video, you should have a better understanding of how entrepreneurship is raising people up out of poverty, and how you need to focus a bit more since new players are coming after your livelihood. Uganda Fast Facts. Chances are you don't know a lot about Uganda, so here are some fast facts. Uganda is a landlocked country in East Central Africa, surrounded by Kenya, South Sudan, Rwanda, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Tanzania. It didn't gain its independence from the UK until 1962, and since then, it's had to deal with major internal conflicts. The country's current president, 74-year-old Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, has eliminated presidential term limits and the presidential age limit, effectively making himself president for life. Uganda is a diverse nation with 56 tribes and 1 million refugees as of 2018. It's home to one of the world's biggest lakes, Lake Victoria, and 10% of the world's bird species. Uganda's biggest export is coffee, and although there are large crude oil and natural gas reserves here, they are largely untapped. Now that we've covered a little bit of the background, let's take a closer look at Uganda's economy. Economy and population growth. Uganda has one of the youngest and fastest growing populations in Africa, which creates challenges when it comes to the economy. 77% of Uganda's population is under the age of 30 after a lengthy civil war, which resulted in hundreds of thousands of civilian deaths. It's also estimated that about 64% of Ugandans between the ages of 18 and 30 are unemployed. The labor force is expected to triple by 2030, but job growth has not been able to keep up. An incredible 600,000 jobs would need to be created every year to meet the demand. Uganda is also one of the poorest nations in the world. The economy has grown an average of 6.7% per year since 1990, but poverty has actually increased 8% over the last several years. About 21% of Ugandans live in extreme poverty, living on less than $1.90 per day. Studies have shown that for every 3 Ugandans who make it out of poverty, 2 fall back into it. There are a number of factors that contribute to the widespread poverty, including reliance on rain for agriculture, regional instability, corruption, and mismanagement of the public investment program. These problems are only compounded by the 3% annual population rate, which is among the highest in the world. The population is expected to balloon from 42.8 million in 2017 to 100 million by 2050. Now you might be getting some idea about why so many Ugandans are starting their own ventures. But first, let's take a look now at the Entrepreneurship Report to see how Uganda was ranked number 1. The Entrepreneurship Report. Many were surprised when the most recent report for the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, or GEM, listed Uganda as the most entrepreneurial country in the world, with a percentage of entrepreneurs that nearly doubled the next runner-up, which was Thailand. The study identified the percentage of people in countries who own or co-own a business that had paid salaries for at least 3 months, but less than 42. By their calculations, 28.1% of Uganda's population are considered entrepreneurs, or nearly 1 in 3 people. In fact, it's likely that none of the countries you would expect to top the list even cracked the top 10 or even 20. All 10 of the most entrepreneurial countries are classified as developing nations, including Brazil, Jamaica, Botswana, and Indonesia. And yes, even China, who comes in at number 11, is still considered a developing nation by the World Trade Organization. We'll talk about the reasons why the rates are higher in developing countries like Uganda in just a little bit. But while we're on the subject, let's take a quick glance at the list of countries that are the least entrepreneurial. Suriname is ranked first on this list with far less than 1% of its population having started a new business. And some other countries on this list, like Italy, Japan, France, and Spain, might surprise you and make you question how you think about entrepreneurialism. And just in case anyone is wondering, the United States finds itself somewhere in the middle on GEM's list, but it is ranked number 1 on the 2018 Global Entrepreneurship and Development Index, meaning that the U.S. offers the best environment to cultivate entrepreneurs. But let's focus back on Ugandan businesses now. Ugandan businesses. The word entrepreneur likely summons visions of Silicon Valley techies and big-name venture capitalists, but the picture of entrepreneurialism in Uganda is much different. About 80% of Ugandans live in rural areas. The capital city of Kampala is the most populated, with 1.6 million people, and the next largest city has a population of less than 400,000. The use of cell phones and internet has increased rapidly in Uganda over the past several years, but there's still not much of a market for technology-based innovations. Many Ugandan entrepreneurs focus on providing a service like tailoring clothes, hairstyling, construction, and transportation. About 400,000 Ugandans are motorcycle taxi drivers, many self-operating since they can afford to buy their own bike. Others cater to tourists, offering tours, local food, and handmade goods. Many start a retail business selling newspapers, soft drinks, frozen fish, or other items. And some choose to open a small restaurant or coffee shop. The majority of these businesses are internationally small-scale and informal to avoid paying taxes and registration costs, which in many cases hurts their long-term viability. But more about that in a minute. Let's first take a closer look at what is pushing Ugandans into embracing their entrepreneurial spirit. What is driving this entrepreneurial spirit? A high percentage of the new businesses that are created in Uganda come from necessity, a need to provide and survive. About 400,000 young Ugandans enter the job market every year, but only about 9,000 new jobs are created annually. So for these business creators, luxury is not the goal. They're seeking stability, security, and a better standard of living. These goals fuel creativity and innovation for many entrepreneurs in Uganda. In some countries, people may be hesitant to start a business because they're afraid they'll lose everything in the process. But in Uganda, many entrepreneurs have everything to lose if they don't begin a new venture. So instead of fear holding them back, their fear inspires them to push forward. There are new opportunities emerging in Uganda thanks to newly laid fiber optic cables that have brought internet access to the entire country. However, the number of new businesses started every year is only half of the story. The other side of the story. Uganda being named as the world's most entrepreneurial nation makes for a good headline, but it doesn't tell the whole story. While it is true that about 10% of Ugandans start a business every year, there's another statistic that gives a more complete picture. Every year, about 20% of Ugandans aged 18 to 64 discontinue a business. This means that the majority of businesses started every year will most likely fail. The general statistics about small businesses globally state that about 80% survive the first year, but only 50% survive 5 years or longer, and only 1 out of 3 remain open beyond 10 years. If you're looking to learn more about the 15 most common reasons why businesses fail, click in the top right corner to watch our dedicated video about this. It's incredibly valuable, and knowing which vulnerabilities to look for might just save your business. Many entrepreneurs in Uganda, particularly the younger ones, don't have high expectations for growth and don't consider how they can make their business sustainable. It's much more common for one to start a new business in Uganda than to expand on an existing one. Those that do have ambitions to grow and often difficulties with cash flow and funding. Loans are difficult to secure, and interest rates are well over 20% at banks. Another obstacle is a lack of education. While a big part of being an entrepreneur is ambition and passion, it also helps to have some knowledge about business planning, record keeping, and budgeting, as well as financial literacy. Without any guidance or education, too many businesses in Uganda have failed due to short-term thinking that hinders the growth of a business. On the positive side, the uprise in internet connectivity has allowed for people around the world to learn how to start businesses and access the international marketplace no matter where they are. You are taking advantage of this right now. And lucky for you, there's never been a better time than today to start a digital business. We partnered with Shopify, so if you go to alux.com/sell and sign up, you can get your very own online store in just a couple of minutes. Even better, you get 14 days to test your business and play around on the platform for free, so we can encourage entrepreneurship. Ideas become reality when you take action on them. Conclusion. Although Ugandans are proud to be recognized for their entrepreneurial spirit, the country still has a long way to go in creating a stable and sustainable economy that provides the opportunity for a good standard of living and for its growing population. The government and other entities have launched several initiatives in recent years to educate, support, and train those who wish to start or grow a business. There's also a new interest in encouraging women to start exploring opportunities outside of the home. If you combine these new opportunities with political stability, a resilient spirit, and a diverse economy, Uganda could certainly have a very bright future. Question. Now that we're wrapping up this topic, we'd like to know, what position is your country in the Entrepreneurial Report? Let us know in the comments. And of course, as a thank you for sticking with us until the end, Aluxers, here's your bonus fact. Bonus. The wealthiest person in Uganda and the entirety of East Africa is Sudhir Ruparelia, a business magnate and investor who has a net worth of $1.2 billion. But this kind of wealth doesn't come around without some controversy. It turns out his bank is massively insolvent, and they may have lied to investors. The court case has yet to be resolved, but his personal net worth is set to take a dive if this story ends up being true. Thank you for spending some time with us, Aluxers. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss another video. We also handpicked these videos for you to watch next. As always, the conversation continues on social media. Thanks again, and we can't wait to have you back tomorrow.